What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Hammer and Chisel Performance Podcast. I'm your host, John Heck. As always, just want to open up with a quick shout out to the sponsors of the podcast, Troponin Supplements. It's a little chilly out here in North Carolina. We've got a cold front, so I'm in the Troponin Supplements hoodie right now. And then, of course, before every podcast, you guys hear me say it every episode, taking a dose of my ATP. It's an effervescent tablet. You drop it in your water, dissolves like an Alka-Seltzer, tastes great. 300 milligrams of caffeine, but most importantly, a powerful nootropic that just gives me a big surge in mood, focus, energy, a little bit of memory enhancement so I can be sharp, have a good conversation on the pod with a guest like I have on today. So guys, check out the Troponin Supplements website. Use my last name in all caps for a discount. But anyway, getting into this week's episode here. So I've got a special treat for you guys. Whenever I'm giving an intro to a guest, I'm like, how exactly do I describe this guy, because he's got a lot of different components to him. So I don't want to pigeonhole you into exactly any one aspect, whether it's a YouTuber, a coach, a gym owner, a strongman competitor, all the above. A lot of you guys probably already know this guy. You've probably followed him on YouTube for many years, as I have. But anyway, Brian Alsruhe, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. I truly appreciate it. I'm humbled to be here.
Absolutely. Well, man, it's been cool for me doing this podcast, just getting to have on a lot of people from all over the industry who have impacted me over the years. So then to have guys like you on my podcast, it's kind of surreal to me, because especially with a YouTuber like yourself, you watch so many hours of content and you feel like you know the person, right? It's almost like your favorite character on a TV show or whatever. You feel like, I've spent so many hours watching this guy. And when I was getting into strongman myself competitively back in 2018 or so, you were one of my dudes. You were one of the channels I was going to. I was looking up how to do an Axel Continental clean and press, how to do a log clean, how to throw a sandbag, all that stuff. And you were one of the channels that I was on there and watching tutorials and getting coached up. So, and you just had kind of this, I don't know, there was a certain like brand you had just watching the videos, like, cuts to the black and white and you knew you were watching a Brian Alsruhe video when you're watching your channel. So you've had an impact on me, man, as you have with many others.
Man, it's like the nicest thing anybody ever said to me. So thank you. That's all that.
Absolutely, man. Well, like I said, there's a bunch of components to you. So, I always think about like, all right, where do I really want to steer the conversation? And so we could go down many rabbit holes. I do want to touch on your strongman career, touch on gym ownership a little bit. I think that's an interesting topic. I'd love to go into YouTube, just your journey, your experience, getting started, building a channel, kind of becoming an icon. Do we call it the fitness industry, the strongman world, the strength world, whatever that genre is? You became a big name in there. I mean, you've got 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. But then also just talking about some of the trials and tribulations you've been going through over the years with just kind of a wild roller coaster of medical issues, which I'm curious to hear about and just how you've managed to persevere through all that. But anyway, Brian, do you mind just giving a quick background for my audience, those of them who don't know you?
Sure. I guess I've always been interested in having muscles and stuff because I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 1980 with like He-Man and Ninja Turtles and Conan and Rambo and Jean-Claude Van Damme. And like in my world, like if you wanted to be cool, you needed to know martial arts and you needed to have muscles. Those were the two things that made you cool. You had to be tough. You know what I mean? And so literally from a young age, I started building myself around that. And luckily I had very blue collar parents who believed in hard work and like pushing me and doing things like that. So I guess I started really lifting weights seriously. I had like one of those like sand filled or concrete like old school weight benches. A lot of people probably want to remember that, but they were trash, right? They were absolutely trash. But I had one of those in my room, and I actually moved my bed out of my bedroom and put a bench in there because I cared more lifting weight, and I just slept on the floor. So awesome. I started probably about 13, which then just kicked into high school. And once you get into high school, if you play sports, most of the time you do some lifting. And that's where I got my real exposure to like squatting and doing different things like that. But really, and I trained hard, I trained extremely hard because of my martial arts background. And like, you watch movies with like Shaolin monks and stuff, like there were no physical limits. Like you just pushed. And the harder you pushed, the tougher you got, the everything got better, you know? So was real big on that. And then I would actually graduated college and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I was still real into lifting. So I became a personal trainer, which quickly turned into management because not a lot of personal trainers have like a business mind as well. Went to a different gym where there was this guy named Mike Jenkins, and some people might remember Mike Jenkins' name, but he was a strongman from my area. We actually went to high school together. He was a couple years younger than me, and we always went back and forth for pound, the strongest guy in the school, because we had a cool weightlifting coach who did that. And so Mike, we were working at the same gym and as personal trainers, and Mike he was getting into strongman and was winning some like local shows and parking lots and stuff like that. And he kept being like, you would be great at this. You need to do this. And my idea of strongman was like the Brian Shaws and the Thors and that style. I'm like, dude, I'm not 7 foot tall. I'm not like 400 pounds of fat. I don't want to be fat. I'm into this MMA thing. Like, I'm going to keep training the way I train. But I mean, MMA training and strongman training are actually, they complement each other very well. But I kept blowing him off. I kept being like, yeah, Mike, I'll do it someday. I'll do it. They're just placating him. You know what I mean? And then one day randomly, like literally, I had gotten a job with the government doing some counterterrorism stuff. And so I left and did not come back for a couple years. Literally, I guess it was 8 or 9 years. I showed back up in my hometown. And I run into this guy who was Mike Jenkins' first sponsor. And he knew who I was from YouTube and stuff. And so he was like, hey man, do you want to do a strongman competition? And I'm like, no, not really. Not really. Don't want to. And he's like, well, if you did, I'd pay for it and I'd sponsor you. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool, right? And so I kept kind of hemming and hawing about it. Anyway, this guy was going to have a Christmas party. And Mike was supposed to come to his Christmas party. And he was like, why don't you come to the Christmas party? You'll reunite with Mike. And Mike will get you in a strongman. Well, literally that Thanksgiving morning, Mike died. Mike had some heart issue in the middle of the night. I'm assuming it was a heart attack. It was there was a lot of things to it. Anyway, instead of going to a Christmas party, we went to a funeral. And at that funeral, a ton of strongmen flew in from all around the world. I was like the smallest dude in the room, which is it's a rare room where that's, you know what I mean? And these guys had this like intensity about them, but I didn't know exactly. I didn't know a lot of the guys or anything like that. And I was still involved in MMA at the time, but I had just found out that I had a brain tumor. And so I could no longer be getting kicked and punched in the head. Not that you should ever be getting kicked and punched in the head, right? Like we know that now. But so I at his funeral, I'm crying. I'm sitting in the church in the pew and I'm crying. And I'm thinking about all the times that I told this man that I would go do this. And I never did. And so I literally in that church at that moment said, I'm going to do a strongman competition. And I turned to a sponsor and was like, hey, sign me up for something. I'll go do it. So he signed me up for something like a month later. I'd never touched a strongman implement and I am 33 years old, right? So my athletic prime is we're near the end of it. We're not at the beginning, you know what I mean? And so the week before the competition, Mike had moved to Hershey, Pennsylvania and had a gym out there. And like a CrossFit gym with he and his wife, Carrie, who is now Brian Shaw's wife, Carrie Shaw. Right. That same person, right? So I go out there with the sponsor and I meet Carrie, and Carrie shows me how to pick up an Atlas stone, what farmer's handles are, all these things. And literally next week, I competed in West Virginia at my first strongman competition, was lucky enough to win, got an invite to nationals, and was like, dude, I didn't even train for this. And I walked through these fools. Like, this is going to be easy, right? And then I went to nationals and got smashed, completely annihilated, right? And from that point, the sport became interesting to me because I was like, oh, there is something to this. This is the closed door for my MMA days, but there's an open door. Why don't I jump into this? So, yeah, literally, I got into that pretty hot and heavy for about a year. And at that time, I wasn't very happy in my government like counterterrorism career. So I was like, I'm out. I'm going to go start a gym and see what happens. And that is basically how my strongman career started.
Got it. I mean, man, hell of a story, just packed into a short intro there. I mean, Mike Jenkins, for those of you who don't know, I mean, he ultimately, rest in peace, he did go on to become an absolutely elite strongman. I mean, world's strongest man appearances, correct?
I think his best finish was second place in world,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
amazing guy, amazing human being.
Yeah, so Mike Jenkins, big time strongman. So obviously a great, connection to segue into the sport, and a tragic passing, but a small world with his ex-wife Carrie now being married to Brian Shaw. That's an interesting connection. I didn't realize that was kind of the your entry into the sport, but I also didn't realize you were involved in the military like that. So
It wasn't military, it was government side.
okay,
And it sounds cooler than it was, right? Like I got to carry guns and do cool things and go on missions and stuff, but like it's not like what people think. People are like, "Oh, you're Jason Bourne." I'm like, "No, bro. There's plenty of people who work for the government and like, you know what I mean? Just different capacities and stuff like that."
got it. Now you mentioned when they were trying to get you into strongman that they knew you from YouTube, so you had already started a YouTube channel. This is all pre-strongman.
Yes, but I started a YouTube channel because I was doing that counterterrorism career. We couldn't have, and it was the beginnings of social media, right? But like, you couldn't really have social media because it was all covert. Like, you couldn't show your face, you couldn't use your real name, and I was posting full time, like a lot on T Nation, and T Nation at that time was like one of the best sites out there. And I had a lifting log, and literally the biggest lifting log following in T Nation, probably still in T Nation history, under the name Alpha, right? Like that was back when Alpha was cool. I got it before it might all weird. And so I would post my lifting stuff, and guys were like, "There is no way that you're doing this." And I'm like, I will set up my little stupid, because phones didn't have cameras at that time. And I'd set up my little stupid camera and hit record, and I pull my hat down like this, and I do my front flop or whatever, and I turn around and keep my face turned around. And I was on YouTube as Alpha T Nation because I literally was just doing it to prove what I was writing that I said. And from there, it kind of exploded, right? Like as far as my following on there. But man, when I was not speaking on YouTube, no one cared. No one cared who I was. I could have lifted the world and no one cared. Like it wasn't until I could offer them something that people started getting into that. And if you want to get into YouTube right now, it kind of, the story does segue like from this point on.
Yeah, no, let's for sure. Let's go into it because I think a lot of people here are interested in YouTube and like you ask a lot of kids in today's day and age, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? A lot of people say, I want to be a YouTuber. And I mean, you look at the landscape of social media and YouTube, and I mean, people watch YouTube the same way they would a Netflix show, right? People are on their couch, they got YouTube pulled up on the TV. Like I alluded to earlier, your favorite YouTuber almost becomes like your favorite character on a TV show. Like the way that people consume YouTube is on a much deeper level than the way they do, short form stuff on Instagram and things like that. Okay, so you got started off on YouTube as the faceless Alpha T, and you're just posting some heavy lifting and stuff like that.
And there's some really impressive stuff on there. Some really impressive,
Sure.
but it never, no one cared. I would get like 27 views and be like, "This is amazing! I got 27 views."
Isn't it so frustrating how it's like the heavy lifting isn't what sells? It's like I can post on Instagram, 765-pound deadlift. Like nobody cares because mainstream, they just see a bunch of plates on the bar. They don't know the difference between a 500-pound deadlift and an 800-pound deadlift.
Yep.
But the second on Instagram, I show my abs or you do something controversial or funny or polarizing.
Yep.
That's what gets the clicks. But then a guy like you on YouTube, you start showing your personality. You start showing that, you can teach, you can coach, you've got something to offer people. You've got a personality that people connect with. That's when, of course, things I'm sure started taking off for you. But is it the same channel? Did you just change the name or did you have to start a brand new channel?
Yep, I just switched it over. When I monetized it, I just switched it over. But the funny thing is I never intended to be a social media guy. I do not like being in front of a camera. Like I don't like being the center of attention. It's not my thing, right? However, when I started that gym, right, and my gym still to this day, it's been ranked one of the top 50 gyms in the country, and we don't have a bathroom, we don't have running water, we don't have a locker room, we have a room with weights, and that's what we do. You know what I mean? A bunch of world champions come out of there, but it's a pole barn. That's all it is a pole barn, right? No heat, no air conditioning. It's just it's brutal, right? I guess there is heat, but not good heat, you know?
Right.
So anyway, I'm trying to get this thing going, and my style of training is extremely hard. Like, um, I train, I coach the same way that I train, which is like you're redlining it, you're pushing, you're pushing, you're pushing. I've got smarter over the years, but especially at that time, uh, the workouts are brutal, right? And I could not get my friends to come to the gym when I was talking about starting a gym and talking about quitting my government job, which was like steady, had a pension, retirement, all this stuff. And all my friends are like, "We'll be there. We'll be there. You open it, we're gonna come." Like Field of the Dreams. Man, I opened it and it was like crickets. I had like a couple soccer moms, like some high school sports kids, but like it wasn't really catching on. And then when you didn't have running water or bathrooms, like less people wanted it. It wasn't going well, right? So I was like, you know what? For advertising, because I can't afford advertising because I put all my money in this gym, I am going to just start a YouTube channel and I'm going to start teaching some stuff because I found that uh, a new person would come in the gym and I'd have to teach them the same basics. And that would take up half of my time when I had these other people that I wanted to keep advancing. And I couldn't split it up. So I was like, I'll do the basics with these people. You know, I'll put it out on YouTube and tell them, watch this video before you come in. So you'll get all my verbiage, like the vernacular will make sense, stuff like that. And I did that for probably like 6 months. And I mean, I gained a little bit of traction. Like I said, like I might have been up to like 2,000 followers, 3,000 followers, something like that. But it was nothing big. And then one day, Alan Thrall was doing a Q&A because Q&As were really big back then. It was like the golden age of YouTube fitness. You know what I mean? Like
What year was this?
this was 2014, I'd
14,
say.
yeah.
So it was like me, Alan Thrall, Mark Bell. Like it was just, it wasn't as complicated because lifting stuff really isn't that complicated, right? Like it hadn't gotten into this weed area that we're in right now, where just like people are kind of lost in the minute. And so anyway, Alan, I'm a fan of his channel, and I had never met him. And on his Q&A, he was like, threw out some questions, and I was like, as a beginning YouTuber, what can I do to gain more followers? Because at that time, he probably had like 300,000 or something. And so in his thing, he answers me in the video and says, "Oh yeah, man, I saw yourself almost kill yourself with the 315 bench. That was hilarious." And I was benching like 505 at the time. I'm like, you got the wrong dude, but like, thank you for answering my question. So I wrote him an email. I was like, hey man, that wasn't me, but thanks for the answer, blah, blah. Anyway, Alan checks out my channel and he's like, this guy's got good stuff to say. So he literally was like, hey, do you want to make a video for my channel? I'll put it up and that should give you some traction. And I did. I made like a programming video because I'm big into programming. And literally I came home from the gym, like coaching one day, and it was like a movie. Like I went from 3,000 followers and I like refreshed and it was like 5,000 followers. And then like the next morning it was like 10,000 followers. And I was like, this is it. This is a dream. This is what everyone wanted to happen, you know? And then shortly after that, I was like, hey, Alan, like this investment, can I buy a ticket to Sacramento, come out and train with you? We'll make some videos. We'll do some stuff. And we did that and we started a friendship. And literally from there, he kind of got me my start. On that first trip out, he was friends with Mark Bell, who was also in Sacramento. So I went on the Power Cast, I think it's called, his podcast, and that got me a bunch. Like I got a bunch of people from Mark Bell, and that's how it started growing, was through those collaborations.
Isn't it funny how sometimes it just takes that one lucky spark just to get that fire roaring? You know, like with myself, you know, when I was kind of building up a little bit of a social media presence, I just had this random collaboration I did with a buddy of mine. A lot of people know him now as the Barefoot Sprinter on Instagram. But he and I had been coworkers. We were trainers together at a local gym. We both went to University of North Carolina, and he was doing a bunch of YouTube stuff, or excuse me, Instagram stuff. He had just started blowing up, and he was like, "Hey, would you do a collaboration reel with me?" And we did. And then next thing I know, I gained like 10,000 followers. I got people DMing me like, hey, do you do coaching? Do you coaching this and that? And that was just like this big Kickstarter moment for me. But yeah, it's interesting. You need that one little spark and then things can take off from there. But God, what a golden age that was for for YouTube and podcasts. Like I was listening to the Mark Bell Powercast religiously. I heard you on there years ago. I was watching Alan Thrall, Omar Isuf, back then Mark Bell had Silent Mike as his co-host, and all you guys. It was kind of a simpler time, and just a great age for YouTube. I'm curious though, just bouncing around a little bit. What's an example of you mentioned these brutal workouts, just for my audience. Like, can you give an example of one of your brutal training sessions?
Sure. So I'm a big believer in when I started getting into this, I was writing workouts for my counterterrorism folks, right? And so
Right.
I was like, you don't really get into a fight, or if you do get into a fight, like you're already pre-exhausted because of your sympathetic nervous system kicking in, and like you get dumb and you got muscles for a short amount of time and then it all kills off. So like you need to be able to perform when you're exhausted. So I would start out people with when I started writing these workouts, it was like an insert where you'd have to do like 10 minutes of like hard conditioning where for instance, just an average one would be at top very minute for 10 minutes, you would do 5 burpees, 5 squats, 5 push-ups, 15 jumping jacks, 15 mountain climbers, and then you get the remainder of the minute to rest. And if you move fast, you get that done in 30 seconds. But if you move slow, like you pretty much work around the clock,
Right.
and then your strength begins, right? And all my strength stuff has to do with giant sets. And I believe in doing like the antagonistic muscle before the main mover for the day. And since squat and deadlift don't really have like antagonistics too much, I would do explosive movements. So you might do like 5 burpee broad jumps across the gym, to heavy deadlifts, like for sets of 3, to something core related, and then you'd start it back up and you go again. And then after that, there was also an extract where after you did your main strength, then you had like an assistance finisher. Because I hate doing assistance work, but if you put it in like a competitive 10-12 minute stack of just like kill yourself, like I'll do that, right? So I started doing those, and then there was extract on the end. So that was, and we'd fit all that into an hour because we had every hour was a new class coming in. So we had to set up, do all that, break it back down, and be back out in an hour. So it's just a lot of work in a short amount of time.
And with training like that, and applying it to strongman, I think an area in strongman that doesn't get hammered enough is conditioning and work capacity. And I'm such a proponent of strongman competitors just keeping in some year-round level of conditioning work in. I mean, you've got to be in great shape. I mean, especially now with kind of with the way the sport has trended, a lot of max reps, 60 seconds, moving event type stuff. The sport seems to favor more of the hybrid Mitchell Hooper type guys who are more well-rounded, in shape, can move, all those things. And I think the guys who really hammer conditioning work within their training are at an advantage, and guys who are just doing the old school fat guy static strength type of training in strongman are falling behind. So I've always appreciated that aspect of your programming style, but it is brutal.
One thing that I wanted to cover, because I know a lot of people watching this want to make it in YouTube, or they want to make their mark and stuff like that. And I know you're going to agree with this. Like opportunity, it has to meet a certain amount of hard work, like prior, you know what I mean? Like everyone talks about like becoming an overnight success. Like you and I both had like moments where it kind of like boomed. But like if people would have showed up to our page and we had like 3 bullcrap videos that didn't teach anybody or didn't offer anything, like you needed to build a library so when people come, they're like, wow, look, this is a gold mine, right? I'm going to subscribe. And so like for anyone who feels like they're doing work out there and it's not working out, like I always tell them 2 things. Like number one, like it only takes that one opportunity, but if that opportunity does come and you don't have anything, you miss that opportunity, right? Because no one's going to show up and look at one video and be like, this is great, I'm going to do this. And then the second thing is that like, even if it never breaks and you never get big, like we live in a time where like, how cool would it have been for you to be able to like watch a video of your great grandfather who fought in World War II or whatever, tell you about like what he believed, what he actually thought, what he cared about, things he was passionate about. Like you're making a time capsule, right? Like you don't need to share this with the world. You can make private videos and share them with your family, or you can be like, in case of my death, here's a message for my children, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like we have this amazing opportunity, and like, it's not time wasted. Like you are offering something and learning how to literally create a video from like an idea, storybook it, rehearse it, record it, edit it, like doing all those things, you learn so much in that time. So like if anyone's interested in doing it, just do it. Like if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, you didn't waste your time.
No, I think those are some really good points. So like I'm really putting a lot of effort into my YouTube channel right now. And I'm getting started. I'm putting out a bunch of videos that I worked hard on, I thought were high quality. And I'm getting no views whatsoever. In my initial instinct, I'm like, God, like what's the point? Like, why am I putting in all this work and effort and time into these videos and not taking off? But YouTube videos age really well. And to your point, okay, you finally kind of get to that point where people start to find you. They're going to go back through your channel. They're going to find those earlier videos. So like I've got videos that I've, posted months ago or earlier in the year. And now all of a sudden those videos are getting traction. And like to your point, okay, you finally kind of get your break, you get your exposure on someone else's channel, whatever, people are coming to you. Well, you better have something to offer them when they get to your page. Otherwise, you're just going to be a 2-second flash in the pan. So, I mean, that's a great point. And then you put in that work on the front end, and then you do start gaining traction. Well, now you've got experience. Now you've got a ton of reps, right? So, I wanted to get to that. So, okay, you get featured on Alan Thrall's page. You start getting a ton of subscribers overnight. And then, you go out, you start filming some stuff with him. Do you feel this like, oh shit, like, what do I do now type of pressure? Like, I think a lot of people would get that surge and then not capitalize. You know what I mean? So how did you capitalize on it moving forward?
It was about doubling down. You know what I mean? Like I went from making 1 video a week to 3 videos a week, every week, no stopping me. Right. On top of that, you started getting the merch with like shirts and like hats and stickers and dumb stuff like that. But then you also need some sort of product because everyone thinks if you make a big on YouTube, you're going to have a lot of money. And that might be true for some people, right? It's not true for me at my stage. I make a couple $100 in ad revenue, right? That's all I make. The rest of my salary comes from products, which for me, it's programming. I write ebooks. Like I'll have an ebook with like a 20-page intro, and then it'll be, a 12-week program and all that. And so that's where the majority comes in $25 stints. You know what I mean? I charge $25, but you need those things. And if you're not willing to when your overnight success comes, ideally you would already have 2 books written and done. So you can just kick that over, or you'd have it all figured out. But if you don't, then you're going to have to work 3 times as hard until you catch back up to your stuff. And when that, you are missing so many opportunities, not only for exposure and sponsors and everything else, but just money, right? Like the ideal is to make this our living. And if you are missing out on 100,000 views, well, you could have sold a lot of programs or a lot of shirts or a lot of, I do coaching calls, diet. I know you do a lot of diet stuff. Like every single one of those is every single person that watches the video is an opportunity. YouTube is the number one thing for marketing. If you ask me, just make a lot of videos.
Right. And something I find value in with YouTube and the podcast, which I put all my podcast episodes on YouTube. If you're a coach or you're someone who's selling a product or a service or something, the long form stuff gives people an opportunity to get a glimpse into who you are. Yeah. Right. They hear you speak and they're a fly on the wall for a conversation. They start to feel like they know you and they can trust you. And people like that, if they connect with you, they're a lot more likely to become a client or buy your product. So I think on YouTube, it's not about superficial clickbaity stuff. It's not like you said, it's not just the views and the ad revenue. It's building a brand and a personality and kind of a connection with your audience to where those audience members, those subscribers are then becoming clients or customers. They're buying your product, they're buying your merchandise, they're going to your gym, things like that. So yeah, YouTube can be such a powerful tool for doing that. But I think you have to be an authentic, kind of likable person. Like you can't fake that, right? People kind of sniff that out. And I think that's where a guy like you had success. Like, at least for me, I watch you and I like the way you coach and you talk and your personality. Like I would be a guy who I would hire you as a coach. I would buy your program because of the kind of personality that you convey on camera. You know what I mean? Guys, thank you for tuning in and supporting the podcast. I just wanted to take a minute to give a shout out over to my guys at Troponin Supplements. So they're the sponsor of the podcast, and in my opinion, they carry the best supplements on the market, and it's not even close. And they're the one company that I've wanted to align myself with. As a nutrition coach working with NFL football players, other professional athletes, strongman competitors, bodybuilders, powerlifters, fitness enthusiasts, endurance athletes, I have to be very particular about any supplement company I endorse. And with Troponin Supplements, frankly, it was a no-brainer. These are the products I've been using myself for the last few years before I ever became involved with the company. I know the owner personally, Justin Harris. He is one of the brilliant minds in the bodybuilding industry, and we've talked, and all he has wanted to do is just bring some of the elite top-of-the-line products to the market, and that's what he's done. So these are the products I recommend and endorse to all my athletes, all my clients. I use myself, and I want to pass this along to you guys as well. So I'm going to highlight a couple products here. First and foremost, we've got the ATP. This is a high dose of caffeine paired with a very powerful nootropic. I take this before work. I take this before I podcast. This is going to give you a great boost in mood, in focus, memory enhancement. You're just going to feel like you took the Limitless pill when you use ATP. It's an effervescent tablet. You drop it in your water, it dissolves, tastes great. The next product, Field Rations. This is the premier intra-workout supplement on the market right now. It's a one-stop shop for all your intra-workout needs. It's based in highly branched cyclic dextrin, contains essential amino acids, electrolytes, tastes amazing. I use this within every training session. Then we've got the Suppressor Max. This is awesome for controlling your blood sugar. It's got a high dose of berberine, but then has complementary ingredients that are going to keep the berberine bioavailable and stay in your system longer. This is the best blood sugar product on the market. If you're bulking, if you're eating a ton of food, if you're using a cheat meal, this is a great product for you. And then finally, I love this one. I've always had sleep issues. Hit the Rack. This is one of the best sleep products I've ever tried. I use it about 30 minutes before bed most nights, and this has been the one supplement that has actually helped me fall asleep and stay asleep. And then of course, we got the Troponin T logo bodybuilding jersey and the hat. We've got great apparel on the site. So guys, check out Troponin Supplements. You can find the link in the show notes, in the bio, or you can simply just Google Troponin Supplements. Use code HECK, capital H-E-C-K, at checkout for a discount. Check them out, guys. These are some of the best products on the market.
Dude, also, like, even like with my like programs, like I started this from the beginning. I was like, I'm not putting this program out there just to make the money. Like, so every single time, even like this past like a couple months ago, I put out another program. Every single program that I put out for sale, I put up on my YouTube page and lay out, like, there's like a 30-minute video of like, here's how you build this thing yourself. Here, exactly what you need to know. Here's your reps, your sets, your intensities, everything is laid out. And I'm like, if you want to do this, go ahead. You have all the information you need. But if you want the convenience and the expertise of someone like me, plugging the right things where I think they should go and make it optimized, you can buy it for $25, right? Most people can afford $25. So, and still, I mean, there are people who do it themselves, but we live in a, like, DoorDash. DoorDash is a thing, right? Like, people won't drive 5 minutes to go to McDonald's. They want it delivered to them and pay $100. I'm like, dude, like, people want the convenience of it. So like I don't feel like I'm hurting myself whatsoever. I feel like it's the right thing to do, number one. But number two, it's like advertising, like, this is what you're looking at. Like, if you start working this up and you can't figure it out or whatever, like, you have an option here, you know? So, but it also, like you said, it shows the character of the person who's like, I'm not trying to like go strictly for the money. I am trying to help people. And if I can make money while doing that, then I get to live the job of my dreams. You know what I mean?
For sure. And when you started gaining traction, I mean, did you already kind of have a vision in mind? Like, were you prepared mentally in the sense like, you know, hey, when I make it big, when I start gaining traction, here's the plan, here's what I'm going to do? Or were you kind of caught off guard when things started popping off?
I wanted to make it, right? I wanted it to explode. But honestly, like, when it actually happened, other than the like elation of like the first week or two where it was like, I can't believe all these people, then it kind of switched on me and was like, I have all these people. I can't not make a video. Like, people are expecting this of me. If I don't put this out, or if I, you know what I mean? Like, there became a certain pressure of like,
yeah,
you need to perform now. There's no more minor leagues. Like you made the league. Let's see what you got. And so a lot of people think like once you make it, that's when things get kind of easier. But I think you have to like double down once you make it. You know what I mean?
100%. That the pressure's on at that point. Now you got all these eyes on you. They're expecting that product. They're expecting that updated video, and they're expecting the quality not to regress. The quality is expected to get better.
Yep.
Right. And then a guy like you who's a competitor and a go-getter, like you, I'm sure there is a pressure. Like, I got to put out something better. I gotta top the last video. I can't go backwards. I got to go forwards and this and that. And like, that can be stressful, especially when, the YouTube really relies on kind of that consistency, that consistent output. When you were, when you're kind of establishing your vision for how do I want to leverage this, were you thinking mainly in terms of getting people in the door to your gym? Were you thinking mainly in terms of what you were just talking about, selling programs, or was there a part of you that was just like, I just want to build a name in the industry. I want to be kind of gain respect and be kind of an icon within my field. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely get you. So my main goal, this is gonna sound stupid, but my main goal was to change the conversation, because the conversation around fitness at that time was ruled by people like old school Mark Bell, like Dave Tate, like the old school West Side guys who are like, it more than 10 reps is conditioning. Like, you're stupid if you're doing that. You're losing muscle. You're doing and then on the other hand was like, you could do bodybuilding where you got like oiled up in a thong on stage and stuff. And I was like, that's not my game. And I was like, there's nothing out there really for people who want to look like they lift, but also like just perform. Like, there's not stuff out there for like firefighters and military and police and landscapers and people who actually need to move heavy things in realistic ways. And my main goal was like, I'm going to change this conversation, and I'm going to use physical means as a way to change people's minds, like their mindset. Because back in 2014, it was cool to work hard. Not so cool to work hard now, because people are like, oh, that's not the most scientific whatever way. And I'm like, bro, like, a lot of people got big and strong just by working hard and eating meat. You know what I mean? So at that time, I was more like, even to this day, because now I'm finishing up my master's in clinical mental health to work primarily with males. And it's really, I use the physical as a kind of conduit, like a vehicle for mental and emotional change. Because there's so many things in our lives, right? Like I have a shirt on that says "Suffer Beautifully." That's one of our things, right, that I came up with. And I started working with a lot of people who like adaptive athletes who lost their arms or were born without legs and stuff like that. And quick story about that. I people were coming visiting the gym all the time, right? And someone comes to the gym and I'm in the middle of doing something. I turn around, I go shake this guy's hand. And I realize he doesn't have a whole hand. And I look at his other arm and it's gone at the elbow, right? And his name was Zabi Osa, Xabi Osa. And he's now pretty high up in adaptive CrossFit. And he was visiting from Spain, just an amazing dude, right? And I shake this dude's hand and I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? I've never worked with an adaptive athlete. I don't know how to train this guy. I don't know what to do. And so my mind was just spinning and I was like, guys, go get warmed up. I'm going to fill out this paperwork. I'll be right with you. Right. And one of my best friends and one of my coaches, his name's Uncle Nick. It's Nikolai Myers, who's like world champion strongman now. I'm like writing down this paper, like furiously, like I have no idea what to do. Gotta think. And Nick taps me on the shoulder and he's like, hey, check it out. And Zabi was on a pull-up bar, like 10-foot high, like rogue rack pull-up bar, doing muscle ups with part of a hand and part of an arm. And at that moment, my idea of what was possible completely changed. And the idea that someone could complain about how their legs feel when they're squatting, or like, I don't feel like working out or anything. I'm like, that dude would die to do what you're able to do every single day. He would kill to do that. And so like you look at like our lives and everyone suffers, right? Getting back to Suffer Beautifully, everyone suffers. You could suffer because your parents are sick. You can suffer because your dog is hurt. You could have problems. You could have whatever. And Like it's not if you're going to suffer, it's how bad you're going to suffer and how you carry that, right? Because you can suffer and be mean and angry and sad and feel sorry for yourself and treat yourself like a victim, or you can rise above all that and be like, you know what, I'm going to do the best of what I've been given right now today. I'm going to do my best, just like Zabi, like does everything 100%. And it really, when you're lifting weights, it's one of the only times in your life where you get to make gains in your mindset and like problems in incremental fashions, right? Because like if you wake up Tuesday and you find out someone's got cancer, that's a 500-pound bench press right out cold off the bat, right? But like in the gym, if like 100 pounds was hard yesterday and you go to 105 today, 110, 115, and you just continue to push yourself, you start to learn that like everyone is going through stuff, right? And like this is a way to kind of build your mindset to teach yourself that like just because you don't think you can get through something, that's not real. You know, like I can't tell you how many like every minute on the minute imam stuff that I've been doing. And when I'm on, if I have 10 minutes and I'm on minute 5 and my brain's literally going, there is no way we're going to make it 10. You're dying. You're almost throwing up here at 5, right? Like it's about stop looking at the big picture, break it into small digestible parts and get through the next round. After the next round, you can make a decision, right? But stop feeling sorry for yourself. Change your face. Stop looking like you're in agony. Stop looking like you're in pain. There's no place else in the world that you would rather be right now. Get after it. Go. Do it. And you find that like your limits, where you think your limits are nowhere near where your real limits are. And then all those situations in the gym have created like milestones in my life, or like Karens, where I can look back on that and like, when I found out my mom had Parkinson's, I was like 500-pound bed dead. Like, what am I going to do? Right. And then I'm like, wait, let's take this one day at a time, sometimes 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, break it into whatever you need to be digestible. And remember, like you thought you weren't going to make it there. You thought you were going to be dead and throwing up and passing out, but you made it. So think about that. Like you're so much stronger, so much tougher, so much better than you thought you could be. But if you don't have the mindset, you can't get anywhere. You know what I mean? You feel where people don't want to work. If you don't want to work, like I could give you the best program, the best nutrition, the best everything, all the drugs in the world, and you're not going to make any progress. Like you give me a 19-year-old who will run their head into a wall because I tell them it'll give them bigger pecs. Like I can do anything with that guy. That guy will be a world champion one day, you know?
Do you see that mindset diminishing from our world right now?
Yeah.
Like, do you see the fitness industry, just the world of training, athletics in general, do you see that being lost?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think so many people want it to be easy, right? I just heard Chad Wright say this. He said, and I don't know if you know who Chad Wright is. He's like an ultra marathon hunting something. He's one of the hardcore guys, like SEAL Team, David Goggins type of guy. And does like those long endurance races to like prove that stuff. And he said, he's like, everyone's looking for a shortcut, but the shortcut is that now we have people who know what what the easiest way to do this is. And they told us about it. That's the shortcut. Like if we didn't have all this information, like back when I came up, there were like a couple muscle mags that were like, do 100 sets of curls a week. And that's how you're going to get like, we actually have the stuff that works now. This is the shortcut. We are living in the shortcut, but the shortcut doesn't mean that there isn't hard work. And we live in a time, whether because of instant gratification or being able to like, if you want something on your doorstep tomorrow, you go to Amazon, you go to DoorDash, you can get whatever you want immediately. You don't have to like work for anything anymore. And people treat fitness the same way. Like we have the cheat code. We're being told it all the time by 100 different sources, but you still got to put in that work and that discipline and do the sacrifice. Like there is no easy button.
Are you a football fan at all?
I am.
Yeah, so I spent the majority of my career, the last 9 years, working in football strength and conditioning, and you would have been a fantastic football strength coach. And I went into football strength and conditioning very much kind of a training nerd. I wanted our impact on the team to stem from the training, the programming, the technique, the X's and O's. And what I learned over the course of my career was the real impact that the strength and conditioning staff can have on the team. It's all the intangible factors. It's the accountability, the grit, the toughness, the discipline, the culture setting. I'm like, with those dudes, like, just have them sniff a barbell, keep them safe. Don't destroy them. And over the course of 4 years, they're going to get bigger, faster, stronger. As long as they're working their ass off and you're building in that toughness, that culture, teaching them to be accountable, teaching them to push beyond their limits and showing them that their limits are so much further beyond what they thought they were. That's where you can really impact the team. And, I walked away from football strength and conditioning, but taking that away and realizing, man, it wasn't so much about the X's and O's of programming, but man, one of the things that pushed me away from football was, it wasn't long ago to get to be a starter, you had to sit on the bench for a couple of years. You had to work your way up, right? You had to prove yourself. Well, now in today's day and age, it's the transfer portal, it's the NIL. Hey, if you're not a starter immediately, you're just transferring to the next school. If you don't start there, you'll transfer to the next school or whichever school is going to pay you the most. And so it's frustrating to me just seeing kind of that mindset of having to work and earn it and push yourself, just being lost. And then I couldn't agree more. You see that unfortunately happening everywhere,
But see, that's such a huge thing that you just mentioned. Like, I super respect like you, and especially for saying that. Like, but just work. I mean, you work with super athletes, right? Like, someone gives you this amazing human being, and they're like, just don't break them, right? Like, but exactly what you just said. Like, a lot of these guys have never had to work that hard because they've always been the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, the most talented, and now they're walking to a place where if you are not willing to work hard, you're going to lose it all. You're going to get railroaded, right? You're never going to make it any further. And teaching them the intangibles, I think, whether it be a football player or an average person off the street, like, that's the point of weight training. Like, weight training, eating good, those types of things, they teach you things about life and about yourself. And that, like, it's just an easy measurable process, that because if you continually stay consistent for long enough, if you go to the gym and you do the right things and you eat the right stuff, like, you will make progress, right? But it's the hard stuff to actually change your mind. And like you said, like the guy sitting on the bench, like, that's where you learn to be humble. That's where you learn to, like, be happy for someone else. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to be all about you. You don't need to be the star. And like, those types of things, if you don't learn those steps along the way, it's only a matter of time before your character catches up to wherever you're at and you're going to get slammed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then also just like sitting on the bench, there's an understanding that I don't have a right to be the starter. Like, it's not, it's you earn being the starter, right? That's not something that is just given to you, right? You've got to go out there and prove that. You've got to beat the guy in front of you,
Right.
and unfortunately that's just something that there's less and less of. But, you talk about changing the conversation. Is this the conversation you're trying to change right now on YouTube?
I think now that I'm entering, because once I'm done this, then I'm going to continue coaching and writing books and doing my stuff, making YouTube videos. But now I'm more fascinated because I found that, like, throughout my time coaching, I've been able to create some amazing physical athletes, but I never could have done it if I wasn't working on their mindset and changing their like emotional ability, just all this stuff, the stuff between the ears, right? And so what I found was, like, if I can get in somebody's head, I can get them to go anywhere physically. That's not a problem, right? And I started wondering, like, why is that the case? Like, I would have thought, like, I'd want the most physical people, but I wanted the hardest working people, because the physical stuff you can teach, you can work through. And so now with the mental stuff, I'm looking at, like, how can you use this, right? Like, as a vehicle to change someone's life. We already know that, like, physical activity is good for, like, depression, anxiety, and a million other things. Like, how do I get people off of those medications by changing decisions in their life? Because I really, really believe that the only difference between who you are right now and who you are 5 years from now comes down to all the little decisions that you make between now and then, right? It's not about luck. It's not about what happens to you. It's about what you do with what happens to you. That when we talk about luck, you and I both had lucky moments with social media and YouTube. But like, if we weren't willing to do the work or we hadn't done the work up to that, you don't become an overnight success, right? And I guess now the discussion that I'm trying to change is like, how does your brain control everything else? Like this is the center for everything. If you can get this under control, you can do absolutely, your body will follow, body follows the head. You know what I mean? Like whatever you want to, like, I truly believe that like the impossible, what people consider impossible can be possible if you can get your brain in the right spot. Because me being alive right now isn't a possibility. Me being a YouTube guy isn't a possibility. Like it's for me, it's always truly been about using the physical challenging work to change someone's mind. Because if they can change their mind, they can change their life.
Right. Yeah, no, and I want to segue in a minute here to some of the adversity you've had to overcome. And I mean, your suffer beautifully slogan obviously applies very heavily to yourself personally. Before we do, I just a couple more questions hanging on the YouTube topic because I am curious. When you started having that success and traction, did you find it hard to balance everything? Because you're running a gym, you're coaching, you've got all this stuff going on. Did you find yourself like, oh, I've got to put all this additional time into YouTube now and the other things start to fall off? Or did it all kind of work synergistically where, okay, you're cranking out the YouTube stuff, which is augmenting the coaching and just augmenting the presence in the gym? You know what I mean?
You know, to say like I'm a workaholic would be an understatement. And at that time, I've never worked harder in my life than for probably like from 2013 to probably like 2017, 2018, because I was trying to do it all at the top of my ability. And like, I was the only guy. I had Uncle Nick as a coach. But for the most part, it was 100% me. And man, my personal life is what got taken away. I don't have any kids, so that wasn't a big deal. My wife was part of the gym, so that she helped coach and she was there all the time. But like, I didn't see my parents. I didn't see my friends. Like, I was lucky to show up at Christmas, you know, the gym ruled my life. And like, I tried to give so much to my athletes, like during the weekends, like we'd always go into strongman competitions where I was coaching and videoing that and then getting home to edit it and put it out on YouTube with like commentary. And it was just a whirlwind of stuff. And honestly, man, I started getting, I would say short. I don't know that I ever got like really mean, but like my temperament got shorter. My patience got shorter. I didn't have, since I felt like I didn't have enough hours in the day, I didn't feel like I had time for like normal people nonsense. And it was all about being like elite. And as much as everything, started listening a little bit too much to like the people online, how great I was and all that stuff. And I had to really take a step back and really look at who I was and what was going on and really try to balance that back out.
Yeah, when you're trying to be great at anything, I don't care if it's a sport, I don't care if you're, a CEO. If you're trying to be great at something, you can't have it all. You can't have balance in everything. Something in your life has got to give, right? For some people, that's the personal life. For some people, it's there's some aspect of your life that is going to take a hit. Your physical health, something, and that's sort of the cost. It's cliche sounding, but that's like kind of the cost of greatness, of trying to be the best.
Yep.
And you get to a point where sometimes you get to the top and you realize it's not as fulfilling as maybe you hoped, right? You kind of reach this pinnacle and then you look around you and you realize maybe you've sabotaged some other things in your life on the way to getting there, right? I know when I was really all in on strongman, I was trying to do, competitive strongman while working insane hours as a football strength and conditioning coach. And then, like you, my personal life, my family life just tanked. I mean, I was missing family gatherings. If I was there, I wasn't present. I was eyeing the clock. What time's my next meal? I got to be training here. I got to be off my feet. I was not a great brother, friend, husband, son, any of those things. And that happens when you're trying to chase the top of anything.
It is. That's a really strong point, man. Like, you do not you will never become the best in the world at something if and have a balanced life. Like that balance starts between your ears, but it's really it's a fallacy. You know what I mean? That's why it's so many world champions just something falls apart or they, you know, it's a hard, lonely, selfish road.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, just last question on the YouTube topic, and then I want to dive into just some of the health adversity you've dealt with.
Sure.
We've already talked about some advice, which I think is invaluable for an aspiring YouTuber or content creator, which is, kind of putting in that front end work, even if you're not getting that immediate gratification. What's some other advice you might have for a content creator or someone trying to get started on YouTube? Some of the more logistics type advice, whether that's, hey, how frequently do I post? What should I care about? Thumbnail, day of the week. Do you care about those sorts of things?
I don't, but I'm not very good at this game, right? Like I've gotten followers and stuff to spite myself, not because I put up good thumbnails or I come up with catchy titles, stuff like that. Um, I will say though, like whatever you're going to put out needs to be your authentic voice. Because if you're trying to like copy off someone else's voice or you're preaching some stuff that like you don't really believe or you don't really act, like people see through it. People directly see through that. You know what I mean? You need to be who you are and you need to put out stuff that you're passionate about because you're going to spend so much stupid time looking at yourself. It's brutal, right? For some technical stuff, I would say if you want to be any type of social media person whatsoever, but especially YouTube, get used to talking in front of a camera. Because like when we have a conversation, like you just nodded your head, right? Nonverbal cue. I know we're on the same page, gonna keep going down that line. When there's a little blinking red light, you're sitting there going, like it's different, right? And when you first start recording videos, then I'll start out a video and be like, what's up? My name is Brian. What's up, people? My name is and literally, well, not, you know what I mean? And then you find out you do all kinds of stupid stuff with your face or you put in qualifiers in your sentences and all these things. So like get used to speaking in front of a camera because that is a skill, especially in this world now in the upcoming world, where like being able to interact in that sort of way, especially if you start hitting it big, you're going to have a camera in your face all the time. So like you need to be able to like perform in front of that. So doing that, I've never gotten like Photoshop or anything like that to make my things better. I use Canva. I use the same camcorder, stupid Sony camcorder that I've used for the entire time, simply because I can flip the screen around so I can actually see where it's going to get framed because I don't have a cameraman. I don't have an editor. And I use iMovie on my computer. That's how I edit my videos. You know what I mean? So like, you don't need to spend a lot of money. A lot of people think they need like the super flashy camera with the best tripod and the right lighting and all that stuff. Like I don't have any of that stuff. Like I have a cheesy camera. I do my own editing. Like, but I got into it saying like, I need to learn how to do these things because I can't afford to pay somebody else $50 per video because I'm not making $50 a video. I still don't make $50 a video. You know what I mean? And so like learning how to do stuff yourself is invaluable. If you get big enough that you can hire a team, make it easier, focus on content creation, right? But that, and I will also say, always have something with you, whether it be a notepad or your phone with notes or whatever, where every single time that you're driving or you're doing your life, right? An idea will pop into your head or someone will ask a question. You're like, you know what? A lot of people have that question. That's probably a great video. You need to write that down because if you don't write it down, it disappears, right? Like it goes away.
It's funny. I woke up last night. It was like 4 a.m. I got up to pee. And I was like, I just thought of a question I want to ask Brian on the podcast tomorrow. So I like pull out my phone, I had my little Brian Alsruhe podcast notes, and I typed in the question. It's so true. When something pops into my head now, I'm like, I need to write that down. If I think of a topic to talk on Instagram or YouTube, write it down. I think of a question I want to ask my podcast guests, write it down. But I think you made a really good point about getting comfortable talking in front of a camera, because even if you're a pretty good public speaker, it's different, like you said, when it's just you in front of a camera. Like, when you're public speaking, there's a crowd, you're kind of feeding off the energy of the people there. when it's just you sitting in front of a tripod, it's a totally different skill. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent just driving in my car, having a conversation with myself, because I'll put out a lot of like kind of just talking head Instagram reels, like talking on a nutrition topic. And I know I've got 60 seconds to nail the message and I can't say, I can't stumble. So like I'll rehearse it just in the shower, I'm driving, and I'll repeat it 100 times until it's just crisp. Right. And I've spent so many hours just sitting here in my office, talking to my camera, recording on YouTube, and I'll go through a 30-minute talk on a topic, and then I'll sit back and be like, no, that wasn't it. I'll scrap it and I'll do it again. Just getting reps and reps and reps. But there's a certain like awkwardness you've got to get over. And like, even people are just uncomfortable to put themselves out there on Instagram. Like they've got that imposter syndrome type of thing. Like, you've got to just cut loose and be willing to just sell yourself or just put yourself out there and get comfortable.
Yep. And I mean, everyone's got a story to share, right? And there are people who might like you, don't like me, don't like you, right? And like, people are like, what am I going to say? Like, everything that could be said about squats has been said. And I'm sure if you and I sat down and we started talking about the basics of squats, and we probably think the same stuff, the same way that the other 1,000 other dudes, like it's the same stuff, right? But like the way that someone delivers it, or your personality, or your whatever, that's why people subscribe, right? Like, they don't subscribe because you have the ultimate right thing every single time. They do it because they like you, they like how you present it, the stuff is work. There's a lot of reasons why people get into it. So whenever people are like, I don't know what I'd say, I don't know what I'd do, I'd be like, it's no different than anything else. Like, you're having a conversation just with yourself. But I would rather talk. If you were like, hey, go speak in front of 6,000 people, I'm like, no problem. Just send me out there. I'm good to go. But like, you tell me to like do a 10-minute long YouTube video, and I'm like, you better give me like 2 hours to record that, because half it's going to get, it's funny, like the black and white cuts, the black and white cuts in my video. The reason why that started is because I was messing up so much in the recording that literally I just started making fun of myself and being like, that was great. And then I'd be like, you know what? Why don't I keep that? Like, I love bloopers. Other people like bloopers. So I just keep that, put it in black and white, kind of like the side voice. And then it also gave me a break in the middle of the sentence that I couldn't get through without messing up. And then I could finish the sentence, right? But that's how that started. It wasn't like a stylistic thing. It was literally like, I can't say a 15-word sentence without messing it up. So literally the middle was a cut where I made a joke and then went on, and it worked.
Yeah. And those little black and white cuts, like I mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast, like, to me, those are like quintessential Brian Alsruhe. It's just a little touch to your videos that, like, if I see that black and white cut, I think of you and your stuff. But it kind of lends itself to that authenticity thing. Like, I think people like to see the human side, right? And that's a connection point there. No, I think that's all really good advice with YouTube stuff. And I think also just a harsh reality is not everyone's meant to be a YouTuber, right? Not everyone necessarily has something to say. Like, not everyone has something worth 100,000 people subscribing to, right? Like, at the end of the day, you got to have some substance to you, right? You've got to have a talent or something to offer the people, right? You don't just no one is owed all these subscribers and these views and these clicks, even if you do put in work and consistency. Like, at the end of the day, like, you better have a foundation to stand on in terms of something to offer. So I think also, like, continuing education and like just actually gaining expertise in something.
Yes.
Like, sometimes people want to like jump that step and go and think, oh, I should be this big popular YouTuber because I'm pretty good at speaking and I'm willing to put in the hours. It's like, don't forget, you still got to put in the hours, like becoming an expert, right?
Yep. Yeah, because you need like 5-10 years of like making all your mistakes and learning from other people and figuring out what it is that makes you unique and what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. And then you have something to kind of say, right? But if you haven't spent that time like chiseling your own statue, doing those things, like you're not going to make it. You could make the most high quality video ever, and it's not gonna get it done.
100%. Well, I'll get off the YouTube topic here. But guys, by the way, if you haven't seen Brian's YouTube channel, go check it out on YouTube. It's a great content, especially if you're anyone who's into training, into strongman, into any of those things. Like I said earlier in the podcast, when I was getting into strongman, I was watching a lot of your videos. They just genuinely helped me learn technique, and it was great educational content for training. And also you were out there just ripping some heavy weights. So I love seeing some good old just full days of training and some big weights getting moved by a big jack dude. But anyway, man, it's your own physical development has not been an easy one, especially here lately. I know you talked about this a number of times on your own channel and things like that, but I think the story is just remarkable. Do you mind walking the audience through just some of the insane medical stuff you've been through over the years?
Sure, man. So it was probably like I opened my gym Never Sate in like 2014. That's when YouTube kind of kicked off and stuff. And it was probably about 4 years later, 2018. I showed up to the gym earlier in the morning, and I was like, I feel kind of sick. Like, this is weird, right? Sick got worse and worse and worse till I eventually threw up, and I was like, I'm not pregnant. I don't know why I'd be throwing up, right? The next day happened again. Next day happened again, and I'm like, something's wrong. And then it started becoming more frequent. It wasn't just like in the mornings. Then it became like twice a day. Then it became 3 times a day. It eventually worked up. Literally, probably 2 years later, 2.5 years later, I was throwing up 30 to 50 times a day. And I wasn't necessarily throwing up, but like dry heaving and everything, because I stopped putting food in there because it just got rough, right? But at the time when I started throwing up, I actually went from middleweight strongman up to heavyweight strongman and was weighing 273, which I'm barely 6 feet tall. So like I was a big boy, you know what I mean? And literally in like 2 months, I dropped down to 205 because I could not hold on to food. It was absolutely brutal. Like it was basically like having the flu. Like I would get fevers all the time, throw up all the time, never felt good. And was going to the doctor all the time. Every doctor was like, you're the healthiest dying person we know. We don't know what's wrong with you. But we have absolutely no idea. Ended up tearing my rotator cuff. And when I was sitting there for surgery, I explained to the people, I was like, hey, I have this vomiting problem. And literally they almost stopped my rotator cuff surgery because they were so worried about what was actually the other parts of me. They didn't know if I'd lived through the surgery. And the reason why my rotator cuff tore was because I wasn't holding on to nutrients, right? Like my body couldn't recover. And so it started leading to more injuries. And anyway, one day, I ran into Mark Bell at the Arnold, right? And it was like a happy little, I was actually there with Carrie Shaw and Brian Shaw, and was like behind the scenes. Their son just been born. I actually was working with Brian Shaw's coach. He actually started coming to my gym and we trained together and everything like that. And so we all flew out to Colorado and we're hanging out with Brian Shaw and ran into Mark Bell at the Arnold. And Mark's like, hey man, I've got a friend who deals with random, like she's a doctor. She deals with random medical stuff that no one else can figure out. Like, do you want to talk to her? And I was like, yes, I'm dying. I want to go. Right. So she was in like downtown, like Manhattan, New York City, which is going there. If I'm going to die is pretty much the only way you're going to get me into downtown. I stay in the woods. I don't go to the city. And so my wife and I go down there, and her name is Dr. Gabriel Lyons. And like, if you don't know her, check her out online. She's got a huge online presence now. Anyway, I walk into this lady's office and explain to her what's going on. And she doesn't do anything but work with dudes who have been overseas. Like her husband's a SEAL. She works with like everyone who like does this stuff. And so I go in and she's like, stick out your tongue. I stick out my tongue and she's like, you have worms. And I'm like, what do you mean I have worms? And she's like, you have parasites. There are parasites inside you. She's like, how often you've been overseas? And I've been overseas literally over 200 times. You know what I mean? To like everywhere. And she was like, at some point in time, this is a funnier part of the story. She's like, we need to get you tested to see what type of parasite you have in you.
Right.
So that happens at another little place down in New York City, where I go into this room where it is nothing but like artifacts. Like you look like you walked into like a paranormal investigators thing, right? This old dude that's literally like 117 with like the bushiest eyebrows you've ever seen tells me to come in his office, and he's like, we need to stick a probe up you to check your stool to see what's going on, right? So I'm like, well, I was not sold this. I didn't know this is what I'm here for. So he starts putting the probe in, and I'm like, this is not cool, right? This is not cool at all. And he's like, we're almost done. And so he's like, you wouldn't believe this is 10 inches, would you? So he had a probe 10 inches up my butt because it needs to go that far to actually get to like the base. I don't know how it works, man. It's like taking soil samples or something. I don't know. And so anyway, it comes back that I have schistomyces, or I still don't say it correctly, which actually kills like 240,000 people in Africa every single year alone, just Africa. And it's the second most deadly parasite next to malaria. Everyone's heard of malaria. No one's heard of schistomyces, right? Especially not in America, because we don't get it in America, right?
Right.
Anyway, some point in time during my old career, I stepped in water, put my hand in water, drank some water. These things swim through your skin, right? So the worms swim through my skin and literally laid dormant for years, like probably like 4 years, 4 years. And then one day when it released, I started throwing up, and those were my symptoms. Some people literally go crazy. Some people hallucinate. Most people die. Anyway, we caught it. And literally, if you were in Africa, you go and spend 15 cents on some pills because it happens so often there. And you're cured. Here you have to get like $1,000 medication, which is the same pill. But yeah, so then I started getting better, but the worms had done the damage, right? So I still continue to throw up for years afterwards, getting better, like not as often. But that led to like a second shoulder surgery. It led to, I had to get a PICC line in my chest, like one of those things. Right. And they didn't find out about that until I came out of the second shoulder surgery, and they couldn't put me back under to put the PICC line in. And to put a PICC line in, they need to put like something as thick as a pencil that's like 3 foot long. They need to put it through your chest. And I was awake for it. That was the grossest thing that I've ever experienced in my life. Anyway, I've been recovering since. I was never able to really get back to where I was lifting from that point. And yeah, and I've also dealt with like Lyme disease stuff, like because I spend so much time in the woods and just doing things like that.
Right.
I've gotten Lyme probably 10 to 20 times in my life, and haven't really had bad experiences until probably the last like 2 years. And then last 2 years, man, Lyme has like destroyed me, like absolutely destroyed me.
And are you still dealing with the fallout of the Lyme disease right now?
Literally right now, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm in pain. Like sometimes like literally I just got off prednisone and I'm on antibiotics right now because last week, I hadn't had a workout. I hadn't had an acute injury. There was nothing tweaked. There was nothing, right? And one day I'm like, wow, my shoulder hurts, right? Literally by the end of that day, this arm was unused. To do this would be impossible. Like I couldn't raise it. I couldn't move it. And then my whole right side of my body started getting achy. The prednisone, I got on prednisone because that's a miracle drug. That took away this pain, but my lower back still in like my kidneys / liver type area is still just like crippling pain.
And did I also see you post on your social media, kidney stones are also in the equation?
That happened. 2025 has been a rough year. Like, it started out with a Lyme complication. I got Lyme knee, where my joint literally swells up. So you have like a peg leg and you can't bang your leg at all. And you have to get on antibiotics or else it can stay. That led to 105 fever for like a couple days, which was horrendous, which then led to, after that was over, I was like, man, like my lower back hurts. Like, I don't know what's going on. And it felt like organ pain. Like if anyone's ever had organ pain, it's different than like muscle pain or other pain. And I was like, something's wrong with my insides right now. Got some work done, found out that my liver had been damaged because I had been taking so many meds for the fever, right? For extended period of time. Yeah. And then that led to finding out that I had kidney stones. And I tell you what, man, kidney stones aren't fun. They're not much fun at all. I wouldn't recommend it. But compared to a lot of the other things that I've been through, like when I went and people were like, oh no, kidney stones, how terrible was that? I was like, honestly, like I'd say 7 out of 10 comparatively to where I've been. You know?
Yeah, no kidding. When you're going through the ordeal with the parasite and you're throwing up, double digit times daily, how long did that period of time last from when you first started the vomiting to when you finally got diagnosed with the parasite?
Probably about 3 years, I'd say. Maybe it might be a little longer than that. Yeah, like literally. I'm not like a suicidal dude, but like during that time, things got pretty dark, right? Because like you've had the flu. You've had the flu for like 2 days and you're like, I just want to die. Like it was 3 years. Like I hated my life, especially when you go to doctors and stuff and everyone's like, you're dying, but we don't know why,
Right. And I mean, did you just absolutely destroy your esophagus?
Yeah,
I just imagine,
man. Like I'm still have repercussions from all of it today.
Yeah. I dealt with a situation, much smaller scale than you, but I can relate to just going through a period of time where there's an issue and no one can seem to figure it out. I had an AFib episode, a heart arrhythmia pop up out of nowhere. But then alongside that, I was just getting all this terrible chest pain and these weird attacks where I would just, my breathing was affected. I had this brain fog come over me, and I was convinced it was associated with this heart issue. And I kept seeing doctor after doctor. They were doing a million heart scans for months and months and months. I couldn't find anything. And then finally, eventually, it came to be that it was actually a gut issue that was causing just chronic acid reflux and GERD, which is manifesting as chest pain, which felt like heart pain. And I was having esophagus spasms, which felt like a heart arrhythmia. And I was having panic attacks about it. But the takeaway from it was just the feeling of, something's wrong, but no one has an answer for it. It's just like a nightmare.
It's infuriating.
You can't escape from.
It's absolutely infuriating.
Yeah. And it'd be like even worse than the physical symptoms themselves is just that, like, why I just want an answer.
Yep.
Like just giving me a Yeah, exactly. And I mean, how did you find the strength to get through that? I can't imagine 3 years of that. Like, how did you persevere? What kind of dog is that?
This is a Rhodesian Ridgeback. This is Kona,
Yeah.
and Nala's on the other side. So
yeah, Rhodesian Ridgebacks are awesome breeds, man. It's the old lion hunting breeds. I've got a big Great Dane on the floor right here in front of me.
Dude, big dogs are awesome.
They are.
They are awesome. They are the most lovable dogs. But to answer your question, how did I?
Like, how did you persevere through that, man?
Number one, I was raised that like you don't stop. Like no matter what, you don't stop. Like I did construction with my dad my whole life because he did like construction. I remember early in the morning, it was like literally like 5:30 in the morning, and I shot a nail gun that hit like a piece of metal and wrapped around and came through my thumb and busted out the back of my thumbnail. And in the process, like it nailed a piece of wood in my hand. And in the process of like the freak out, I just ripped it out and threw it on the ground and was like, hey, my workday's over. You know what I mean? And I go to my dad. I'm like, I just shot a nail through my thumb. And he literally grabbed electrical tape and wrapped it around. He's like, we still got another like 8-9 hours. So that was like my upbringing. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get to stop. I broke L3 in my back. And literally had to do construction work the next day when like I barely could move. So I've always been like, you just got to keep going. No matter what keep going looks like, you got to find something and you got to do it. And so like, I never stopped training. Some nights I'd have to stop coaching and Uncle Nick would have to take over and my wife had to take over because like the throwing up just got too bad. But it was nothing for me to be having a conversation like this and literally just like, bah! Because like it got so embarrassing. I would like walk through a store and be like looking at dog food and literally throw up on the floor. Like there was no, and since I was just nauseous all the time, there was no like warning, like, oh, this is really bad. Like,
yeah.
And it just got to the point where I was like, well, you're dying, right? Like this is it. So either you can go, it like suffer beautifully. How are you gonna bear this? Like, if you're going to die, do you want people to be like, oh, he laid in bed, he got sick, and well, he just wasted away and died? Or like, you're going to fight every single day. Like, you're going to prove every single day you're going to earn this, you know?
Right.
And that's something that I hope people can take away from this podcast. And like, talking about like your situation, like, man, if you don't feel good, you don't want to, you don't whatever, like, your feelings don't matter that much. Like, you need to get it done, right? There's work to be done. You need to get it done. And um if you continually give in to your feelings and the way that your body wants, then you're not going to be effectual in the world. Like, you need to get past hard things. You need to be able to do that. And I really think a lot of my lifting, of working so hard and pushing through points where like I'm throwing up and I'm like, you still got 3 sets, you got to go. Like, still being able to do that when I felt so sick and doing stuff, that led me to this point in my life where like I literally was dying, lost 70 pounds in like a month and a half, 2 months, and was like, you're going to keep going and you're going to keep pushing. Whatever pushing looks like, you're going to do it, you know? And yeah, it became a testimony. And it was actually funny because I came up with this slogan, and literally like 2 weeks later, tore my rotator cuff. A couple months later, found out about thing, and I was like, well, this is why you don't come out with little slogans about like how tough you are. Because you're tested. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, are you able to train right now, or are you?
Yeah, I don't stop. Like yesterday, like I literally couldn't. This sounds so stupid, but, and I'm not saying this is what everyone should do. Okay, that's my qualifier. I'm not saying everyone should do this, but like, I sometimes when your back is in a lot of pain, I'm sure you can relate to this. Sometimes when your back is a lot of pain, punishment is what's going to make it better. You know what I mean? Like, you put yourself through so much punishment that like, if I don't lift for like 4 or 5 days, my back will kill me. And what I need to do is like compress my spine or do deadlifts or something. So yesterday, literally my wife and I were getting ready to head to the gym, and I could not pick my right leg up to put it in the car. I had to physically pick it up my legs because my lower back hurts so bad. And went to the gym. I was like, I'll try 135. Deadlifted 135. Was like 225, 315. Anyway, I started going up and just kept doing sets of 3 at 500 pounds, which sounds absolutely insane when you couldn't like get into a car. But like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, if I listened to like what my body was yelling at me, like I I wouldn't do anything. I'm in pain every day. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be driven by something more than like your own sensations and your own things. There's got to be a bigger why.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier with just kind of like the power of the mind. Like, if you just give in to this, what your brain is telling you, like, I'm hurt, I can't do this. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what it's going to be. If you just accept the fact, oh, I can't pick up my leg. Yeah, I'm just going to sit here on the couch. Like, that is going to become your existence.
Yep.
Whereas if you just say, F it, I'm deadlifting, and you do it, well, then that becomes its own self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, like we talked about, just you can take, the mind can take your body so much further than what you think you're capable of, or what your body is telling you that you're capable of. So I'm not surprised at all to hear that you're out there ripping triples on deadlifts at 500 pounds in that state. And, you know, I expect nothing less from the great Brian Alsruhe, to be honest.
But it really, it's just my life. It's just the way things are, you know? And like, like most people, especially like as you get older, like people are like, oh, I'm too old. I heard I'm in pain and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're going to be in pain either way. Like, you could either do something cool with your life that I think's cool, right? You could do something cool with your life and be in pain, or you can sit on the couch and be in pain. But pain is non-negotiable. You're going to get in pain. Like, that's your life. You're all going to suffer. How are you going to do it? You know?
Yeah. No, I really love that slogan, the suffer beautifully. That's a hell of a slogan. And God, I wish when I was in football, we had gotten you out to speak to the team or speak to one of the teams I was on. I mean, in another life, you would have been a hell of a football strength and conditioning coach. Seriously. Like, are you still cranking out YouTube videos and
I am.
same level of?
No, I do about one a week right now. Number one, because of the master's program. So it just takes up so much time. And then number two, I do a lot of coaching calls and like personal training and stuff like that now. My gym is still open and operating and normal. But I don't run classes stuff as much now. I do more individual coaching and especially coaching calls, which just takes up more time. So, and honestly, like I'm not one to repeat myself or like revamp old stuff to like, and I knew that's a great thing to do, right? But like once I've said something, I've said it, right? I said what I wanted to say. I don't need to tell you again that it's on a video. Just you need to put in some work and go look at it, right? Like, and I know that's not a great YouTuber way to be, but I'm like, I've said what I needed to say. You know, I don't have anything else to say about the deadlift. I've said it all. Like, you know.
But I think that just comes back to you, like the big point of being true to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because you just regurgitating and recycling old content, that wouldn't be you.
Right.
Right. Like what people connect with Brian Alsruhe is the authenticity of who you are. So, I mean, I think like, yeah, you could say, oh, maybe that's not what the YouTuber on paper should do or whatever, but the successful YouTuber, like we said, is the guy who's authentic and just true to themselves, which I think that is authenticity on your end. But you know, you look around the YouTube landscape. How's it changed since you were kind of, you know, in your prime, so to speak? Is it you know, worse off, better? How do you see the YouTube social media landscape these days compared to, you know, that kind of 2013, 2018 era?
You know, I'd say it's definitely become a little more toxic because people have become a little more critical. When I first started, like there wasn't a lot of people giving out weightlifting information. And so people were thankful that they had like some of the best coaches in the world were giving out information for free, you know? But now it's like there's different camps and different people believe different things. And now with the science-based stuff, I love science, don't get me wrong. But like when I first started doing this, eggs were horrible for you. They were going to kill you. They were the worst thing you possibly eat. And science prove it. And science had a bunch of things lined up where I was like, I don't really believe this, so I'm not going to follow it. And then time rings true and shows like, that study was sponsored by Cal people, or you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of shady stuff that goes on with scientific things. And one thing that I found is that it's all cyclical, and like things that are bad are going to come back as good, and things are good. Anyway, I will say, back in that time, I consider it the golden age because like literally there was like probably 20 of us that were friends who support each other. And we were like, hey, I'm going to come out and I'm going to be out in California. Can I jump around and we'll do like a couple videos, and I'll go over here and do a couple videos. And people love that. And they just love seeing like the connection and dudes, the same way that you and I started up in like high school weight rooms where like it was about hype and being stoked that like your boy just got a bench press and like squatting and people are yelling at you. And like, it was that. And it brought people into that world and taught them like, this is a team thing. Like it's an individual thing, but like, it's fun to be with other people experiencing this, and you'll get better if you have other people pushing you, and you'll push them sometimes, that kind of thing. And we put all of that onto video. And now I don't know, I don't see that nearly as much. I see it more being like less, and this sounds stupid, but like the bro stuff was so much fun. You know what I mean? Like do a lifting thing, then you'd be like, hey, we're gonna go have a Chipotle eating contest where we're all gonna go out. You know, it was just guys being guys, and everyone loved the fact that guys are being guys. And then like masculinity became toxic. Like the name alpha was not a cool thing to be anymore. If you just care about lifting weights, then you're self-centered and you're a jerk, you know? And it's kind of been, as our society has kind of got nerfed, a lot of this has kind of been taken out. And so like now there's plenty of people who would love to see me go to Allen Thrall and like us hang out and lift some heavy weights and eat burritos. Like that's literally what we did our first couple of videos together. But like, it's different now. Like now there's going to be a certain amount of people being like, this is so lame. Like, where's the scientific backing behind those burritos? Or like, you put too many reps in the deadlift, you're going to drain your CNS and never be able to. I'm like, bro, like we were having fun. We were just having fun, you know?
Yeah. I think that's what it was. Like in those years, there was more of a, I guess, positive vibe, like a positive, collaborative, fun, like pure vibe. Whereas now it's, you know, you got like the voiceovers, like the voiceover critique videos, and just like a lot of negativity, and like you said, kind of the dogmatic, campy, toxic. You got these different camps of what's proper hypertrophy training, and they go at each other, and all the science backed crowd, and the perfect biomechanics of lifting, and all that stuff. Like in many ways, social media is great because there's so much information. Like there's more information than ever on any topic, but at the same time, there's so much bad information now. There's so much just like misinformation, like paralysis through analysis type information that just people forget to work hard. Like we talked about, everyone just wants the optimal program and the optimal, degree of elbow flexion, single arm cable, 6 to 8 reps, RPE, not like, and people just forget to go in there and just sling some weights and train hard and crank the music up and just go pump some iron with the boys, and then, like you say, go ahead and just get the big post workout meal afterwards. Like, man, that's why we fell in love with lifting.
100%. And dude, you brought up a good point. That's like a huge pet peeve of mine, is like the people who have now made a career off of critiquing other people's work, right? Because there are entire fitness channels that do nothing but like, well, athlete and X said this, and Bromley said this, and like just hack people down and like say like horrible things about people that they don't know. And I'm like, bro, like that never used to happen. There was no room for that. Like if you didn't like the person, like having like commentary channels where you're just bashing people, I'm like, and like trying to start feuds and stuff. I'm like, this is not pro wrestling. This is just, what are we doing? Right? Like,
well, we live in the outrage era, where people just really want to leverage controversy, and because it's such an easy thing to leverage for views on social media. Is you do something that's polarizing, even if you don't believe it, you just know you're going to stir up, fights in the comments and get people going at each other, and just negativity and outrage and disagreement just kind of drives engagement, and people feed off of that.
And that drives money, right? Like the more views, the more interaction, because you got people rage baited, like you're making more money. So you're like, who cares at the end of the day? I'm walking away with more money. But like, that's not what it's about, right? Like it's about creating. That was the whole point. Like sharing what you had to share. And it's a frustrating place now.
Now, I will say, I do think there is kind of a hunger out there for people who just kind of want that more, reasonable, moderate, positive view. And that's what I try to do with a lot of my nutrition content. A lot of the stuff I put out there's nutrition based. And I try to, put out a message that says, look, I'm not here for the stigma and the telling you carbs are evil or you have to eat this way and that way. Like, I want to take a more like reasonable, moderate approach to this. Like, hey, like, let's look at both sides of it. Let's look at both sides of this argument. Let's find what's the big picture context of how can we provide, legitimately actionable information for you and your goals. And I think people like that, and people want to hear from people like you. And like you said, if you were to do a collaboration video with Alan Thrall, like the nostalgia of that, I think there is a hunger for that, and that's coming back around, which is why I'm fired up to get you on the podcast. I'm gonna have Alan Thrall on tomorrow, and I just had Joey Zatmary and guys from that era on there. So I'm fired up to get this out there and just get some good old fun positivity back, and bring some of this the old school back to things. But anyway, Brian, man, you've been very generous with your time. I won't take up any more of it, but in the meantime, man, where can people find you at?
My name, Brian Alsruhe. Hopefully you'll write it down there. I didn't write my name on the thing.
It'll be in the comment or the description.
But if you search that, that'll take you to my YouTube, to my Instagram, to all that stuff. Neversate is Neversate, as in never satiated. That is my neversate.com is my website where you can get programs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I'm excited that you've had Joey and you're gonna have Alan. Like, those are boys of mine,
Absolutely. Well, guys, if you haven't already subscribed to Brian's channel, go check out his YouTube channel. I mean, hell, scroll back to videos he put out, 7 years ago. Like there is a gold mine of videos back from that time. I mean, I was just watching one of your videos from 2018 the other night. I was just watching one of Alan Thrall's like 10,000 calorie, bulking diet that he put out in 2017. Those videos are timeless.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, go check him out. Watch some of his old videos. Check out his website. And then for myself, guys, subscribe to the channel. You guys have been awesome. We're building this thing up. I appreciate all the support on the podcast. I'm going to try to get more awesome guests like Brian on here and bring people back from kind of that golden era of YouTube and when people actually trained hard. I know you guys are hungry for that. And then you guys can find me on my website, hammerchiselperformance.com, for my coaching services, ebooks, training programs, all that good stuff. But anyway, Brian, I appreciate you coming on, man.
I appreciate you having me. This was a blast, dude.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. We'll catch you next time.